Byrne. I'm the Mature Student Officer, and I'm really delighted to be joined by one of our wonderful students, Maureen Penrose. Maureen, do you want to put on your camera and unmute and just say hello to everyone?
Hello all, I'm just looking at my photo there. It doesn't look very mature, but I am.
You are so young at heart, Maureen. You're absolutely an inspiration to everyone. So Maureen will be joining us later on just to talk about her experience of being a mature student. So if you have any questions for Maureen, please do pop them in the Q&A box there. And just to say as well that we will take questions at the end. So after each section of my presentation, if you have any questions that weren't answered in the presentation, by all means, pop them in there and we'll get to them towards the end. And just to say as well that while we are able to manage our mics and our cameras, our video, you automatically muted. So don't worry if the dog barks or, you know, if someone comes in unexpectedly, we won't hear. But hopefully we'll have the opportunity at the end to chat to each other. We can leave your video off if you like, but you know, we can hopefully unmute and have a chat and answer those questions that you might have. So please, the Q&A function there if you've got any questions for us along the way. So thanks, Maureen. We'll talk to you a little bit later on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my presentation with you. So just bear with me while I pull this up. So can you give me a thumbs up or a yes in the chat box there if you can see and hear me okay before I progress? Super, that's excellent. If so, I shall proceed. So as I said, you're very welcome this evening to this webinar focusing on the mature student application process for 2022 for prospective mature students. And it's a very practical webinar this evening, looking at the application process, and hopefully it will provide you with the information you need. We are going to look at why Trinity. Well, at this stage, you have hopefully decided that you're going to apply to Trinity, and this seminar will focus on the application process. So we look at, for that process, we look at the importance of undertaking research. The CAO process for mature applicants to Trinity, will run through that and make sure you're familiar with that and give you some advice and tips and information on how to maximise and so that you can submit an excellent application. We look at preparing your statement of interest, which is a very important part of the application process. We look at how Trinity selects mature students in the selection process internally. We look at student supports, which I think is really important at this stage. And then we'll have the opportunity, hopefully, to hear from Tony, although I haven't seen him, but he may join us, and Maureen, who's here. Thank you, Maureen, very much. And then again, as I said, any questions as we go through that I haven't answered, pop them in the Q&A. Otherwise, we will hopefully have an opportunity to chat later on. So why would you consider Trinity? Well, you're here, so we're hoping that you are considering applying to us. But just to say that Trinity has a very diverse student population, and mature students form a very important part of that diversity. And we're really delighted and honoured that mature students do. And we have mature students, to be a mature student, you must be age 23 or plus on the 1st of January 2022, but there is no upper age limit, and we're delighted to say that we have students in their late 70s studying with us at the moment, so age is certainly not a barrier. We provide an excellent education, and for those of you for whom undertaking a degree is with the intention of maybe improving career prospects, well then that's certainly you know, great opportunities there. But for many people, it's fulfilling an ambition, and whatever your motivation, they're all valid, and we welcome your application. We have wonderful student supports, and I will run through those later on. And we've reserved places on all of our courses for mature students. So and just to clarify that when I talk about mature entry to the university, I'm talking about entry to year one of our full-time undergraduate degree programs for students, applicants who are 23 years over and have EU status. So if that doesn't fit you, if you've joined maybe thinking it was for, you know, we'll cover postgraduate study or international students, it doesn't. It's EU, students with EU status, full-time undergraduate degree programs for mature applicants. So if that doesn't cover you, you're more than welcome to leave, but hopefully those of you who are on the call, this will be of relevance and important to you. Many of our courses have no specific requirements, and I'll talk a little bit about requirements for courses later on. So for all the courses in the arts and humanities, many of the other courses, there are no formal requirements. So we don't say you have to have X, Y, and Z subjects or specific Leaving Cert points. But so there are great opportunities for studying as a mature student in Trinity. I just want to highlight the importance of research, because as you've made the decision, you've undertaken your initial research and identified the courses that you wish to apply for, but now you're reaching the stage where you're making your application. So it's really important that you do detailed research into the course that you're applying for, or courses indeed. There's lots of information in the online prospectus. But really, I would encourage you, if you didn't attend our virtual open day in November, that you could go onto the open day website. The presentations are there from the courses and the student support services, etc. And I would encourage you to view those, particularly for the courses that you're interested in studying. And check out the Trinity website. It provides supplemental information that may not be available in the prospectus or at the virtual open day presentation. So please do your detailed online research. Contact the schools and departments. If you're interested in studying science, or if you're interested in studying English, please feel free. There's always a further information email. Contact the school and see what information they can provide you. If you know somebody studying on the course or studying in Trinity, by all means, get in touch with them and ask them their advice and information. It's all really vital, and it really will help you in making your application. I suppose that was course research, but I think it's equally important to look at financial research. And every year, and it's unfortunate when we come to orientation time, there will always be somebody at the end of the first introductory day will come up to me and say, I didn't realize I had to pay fees and I'm not going to be able to take up this course. So please do your financial research now, before you apply, while you can, and have the time to make an informed decision on whether or not you should make an application. For example, do you qualify for the free fees initiative? If you don't, how will you fund yourself for 4 years? And oftentimes students will say, or applicants will say, I have savings, I have enough to get me through first year, but it is a 4-year degree program. So how will you fund yourself for 4 years if you are not eligible for the free fees initiative? Will you be eligible for a grant? Please do check out Susie there to find out if you will be eligible. If you're in receipt of a specific qualifying social welfare payment, you may be eligible for the Back to Education allowance. So again, contact your local social welfare office and inquire about that. All of the information on finance and student finance is available at the Student Finance website, studentfinance.ie. So please do check that out in advance. And it includes information on the 1916 bursary and university. There are two significant scholarships that I just wanted to draw your attention to. The 1916 bursary is a €5,000 per year scholarship, and university up to €7,000 per year. So they're really quite significant. So please do inquire now about finances and all of the available scholarships, grants, and the free fees initiative. I suppose it's important as well, and from my experience of working as a mature student officer over the past number of years, to consider the impact on college life. And as I'm sure Maureen and Tony joins us, it does have a significant impact on your family and home life. So just, some questions to consider before you make your application. Do you have a quiet space at home in which to study? And I suppose that was always true, but even more important now that we're in a very much blended approach to delivery of our education in Trinity. Do you have the support of family and friends? Because as I'm sure Maureen will testify, it's really important to have that backup. You will need it. Do you have childcare requirements? If you have childcare requirements, it's really important that you have good childcare in place. And again, the same for caring responsibilities and work commitments. Of course, it's understandable that people have to work while studying, but it's getting that balance right. So just checking that in advance and wondering, have you got things set up in place to help you to succeed? Because it is usually the practical things like the childcare, like the finance, that get in the way of students succeeding and working to the best of their ability. It's not their academic ability. So it's just something to bear in mind. So just to move on to the CAO process for mature applicants to Trinity, and this is Trinity specific, so just to be aware of that. And I've mentioned already that you must be 23 years old on or before the 1st of January 2022 to be eligible to apply as a mature student. You must have EU status, and there is no getting away from the age. But as I said, there is no upper age limit at all, and we welcome your application. There is an early online application fee to the CAO of €30 if you apply by the 20th of January, so still plenty of time to do that. There's no benefit to getting your application in early. You can register your application, pay €30, but you don't need to get it in before the 1st of February. Don't leave it till the last minute. They will certainly stress that, but there's no advantage to getting it in early. We'll not be looking at applications until after the 1st of February, but after the 20th of January, the online fee will go up to €45. So please do get it in early if you can. The deadline is the 1st of February 2022 at 5 p.m. So it just cuts off at 5 p.m. So please do get your application in early. Late applications, unfortunately, for mature applicants to Trinity will not be considered. By the 1st of February, your course choices must be included on your CAO form. So on your CAO form, you can apply for up to 10 courses. And I've got the CAO handbook here as my Bible, and I think you should really download a copy of that to have at all stages through the process, but particularly for the application stage. So you can apply for up to 10 level 8 courses or 10 level 6 and 10 level 6 and 7 courses in order of preference. And I think it's really important that you are aware of the order of preference, so that your first choice is the course that you would like the most, and so on. Please note, and this is really important because it's the first year that we have no supplementary application requirement for applicants to Trinity. So applicants must apply to the CAO only. There's no supplementary application form. I know a number of you, and thanks for submitting questions early, inquired about the supplementary form. No supplementary form this year. For those of you who are applying for the first time, you won't be aware of that, but maybe someone has applied before and they're reapplying. It's CAO only. So that's why this presentation will hopefully guide you through the CAO process and help enhance your application and make you more competitive. If you're applying as a mature student, and I know from some of the emails I've been receiving from prospective applicants that you've started the process, you must tick box 8 on the qualifications and assessment summary section of the form when you're applying as a mature student. So you may very well tick others, like if you're undertaking a QQI FET course, you might tick that box. If you have Leaving Cert points, you may tick that box as well. But if you're applying as a mature student, you must tick box 8 on the qualifications and assessment summary when you're applying. Then further to that, there are 11 sections that mature applicants must complete. And I'm going to run through those with you now, just highlighting, giving you some tips, advice and information as we go. So the first one there is your highest qualification achieved to date. So we're looking for your highest qualification achieved. It could be junior cert, Leaving Cert, it could be a degree program, it could be a certificate program. You must include that in your application. Do not worry if you don't have any formal qualifications. You can simply put not applicable there, because really when you're applying as a mature student, it is a very holistic process, and the academics assessing your application will be very interested in your current study or recent and relevant study. So please, under section 2, under current studies, outline in detail in a separate document your current study, what you're doing now, because as I said, that is really of significant importance to those who will be reading your application. Post-secondary education, details of all further and higher education. And the more information you give the panel about your history, your work history, or your educational history, the more information they have, and the easier it is for them to make a decision on your application, whether or not to call you for interview. So please do include all of your further and higher education achieved to date. If you've taken any second level exams, please provide the results for those. I know some applicants may not have access to those. They're not very important, but if you do have them, again, it's something that they can give you credit for. It's not going to take away, it's something that can be added. So please do provide those exam results if possible. As I've said, it's a very holistic process, and it's not all about, qualifications and qualifications that you have achieved. We also look at non-certificate courses or kind of informal learning as well. So please do, think about courses that you may have undertaken for pleasure. It could be if you're interested in applying for English and you've done, creative writing or whatever it might be. Do include those as well, because they will be taken into consideration. All of your previous education will be taken into consideration. Now, moving on to look at your employment or voluntary work, and I know there were a couple of questions pre-submitted about, including voluntary work and employment on your application. It's important that you do so and do so in chronological order, particularly if it's relevant to the course you're applying for. Now, if you're applying for something like psychology or philosophy, you're unlikely to have any relevant work experience or voluntary work, but still do map out your employment history and your voluntary work experience. But if you're applying for a professional course, social work, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, they will be looking for related employment, and they will be particularly looking for voluntary work, because they see those courses very much as a vocation, and they'd like to see that you have been engaged, whether it's in the community or so on. So for some courses, it is certainly more important than others, but please do complete that section nonetheless. If English language proficiency, if English is not your first language, you will have to prove English language proficiency. So please do outline the course you've undertaken there and provide supplementary documentation. We can look at that a little bit later on. References, Section 8 is references. References are not required by Trinity, so please do bear that in mind. The academics assessing, looking at your application, previewing it on the CAO, will not be looking for references, and if they're submitted, they will not be. They will not consider them. So they are not a requirement. So don't worry about references if you are applying for Trinity only. Obviously, if you're applying for other universities, they may require them, and you will have to submit them. But this, as I said, is very Trinity specific. So no references required. Section 9 is the statement of interest, and this statement of interest is 1,500 characters, which equates to about 200 to 300 words. So additional information is required by prospective mature applicants to Trinity, and I'll talk a little bit about that later on in the presentation. Hobbies and interests, again, 500 characters there, which is about 100 words. Please do include that, particularly if they're relevant, but not, academics will be interested in you as a person, what makes you tick, what you're interested in. So please do include those. It is a very holistic process, so please do include hobbies and interests that you have there. And 11 for any additional information, particularly if it relates to special arrangements required during the assessment process. So for interview, for example, if you need any accommodations or assistance there, please do let us know, to let the CAO know, and we will know from that. And just to say that there was a pre-submitted question about interviews. The interviews will take place virtually this year, I imagine, for most courses, unless something radically changes. But if currently the status quo, we will be looking at online interviews, which have worked incredibly well over the past couple of years. It is a very competitive process, so it's really important that you complete each section to the best of your ability, give it time, give it consideration, and give the academics assessing your application all the information they need to make an informed decision about calling you for interview. I just wanted to particular note for applicants who may be interested in nursing and midwifery. For nursing and midwifery, you're not required to complete the applicant sections 1 to 11 unless you're also applying for a course you wish to be considered for on the basis of mature grounds. So if you're applying for nursing midwifery and then decided, well, I might apply for social work as well, you would have to complete those sections. But for nursing and midwifery mature applicants, they're ranked based on their score in an assessment test, which is required by the Nursing and Midwifery Board of Ireland. And please do have a look at their website, nmbi.ie, for more information on that. So that's just an important point to note at this stage. As I've said before, the space in Section 9 is not sufficient to allow the academics assessing your application to make a decision on whether or not to call you for an interview. So we do ask you to provide up to 1,500 words for each Trinity course that you're applying for. Now, there are 10 options on the CAO level 8, but you may only be applying for 1 or 2 Trinity courses, 3 maybe. You are welcome to apply for up to 10, but if you do, you will be required to submit a statement of interest for each one of those, because they will be used in shortlisting, and I'll talk a little bit about that later on. There is a template for the statement of interest, and it can be found on our website, tcd.ie, Mature Students Apply. So please have a look. All of the information is there, including our guidelines booklet for 2022 and that template. So have a look at that, and you can use that template for completing and submitting to the CAO. So I'm going to run through the questions that are on that template now. So the question one is, what aspect of the course interests you the most? So I suppose what they're really looking for here is, one, do you know what the course is about, and are you ready to take up this course? So this is where your course research comes into play. All that research you've undertaken into the course should be clear that you know what the course is about, and that this course really is for you. So it's really, really important. The word here, words 500 to 700 words, please do work up to that limit. The more information they have, the better. Question two there is, what has led you to the point where you decided to return to education as a mature student? So here you're invited to highlight the relevance of your educational work and life experience. It could be voluntary work as well to the subject or course that you're applying for. So if you're applying for social work, maybe it's because you had years and years and years of experience of maybe fostering. Just to give you another example, I had a woman undertake occupational therapy with us there a number of years ago. When she came to talk to me, she was in banking, and I said to her, you know, why the move? Why are you interested in occupational therapy? And she said that her mother had had a stroke, and it was only when she was introduced to the work of the occupational therapist that she realized this was something that she really wanted to do. So there's a shift, but a very logical shift. So this is the area where you outline, you know, where your life experience or what has brought you to this point in life where you're now applying for this particular course or courses. And again, the word limit there, 500 to 700 words. I would, if I were you, I would work up to that word limit. And then the additional information section, you can include anything here that you deem relevant to your application that you haven't been able to fit into the other two questions. It could simply be reinforcing that, you know, you're really interested in this course is for you, you've given it consideration, and you would be an excellent candidate for the course. Or it could be on the application form, you are required to submit your or identify, highlight your previous education, so leaving cert. And I know from dealing with mature students over the years that some people are worried about maybe they underachieved in their leaving cert back in the day when they sat their leaving cert, and they're worried that that's going to go against them, or they may have started a course and not completed it. This is a perfect place maybe just to say, look, I undertook my leaving cert, my results are there, but they're not an accurate reflection of my ability, and look what I've done since. And you know, that's something that you might consider, but it's entirely up to you. You can include anything here that you deem relevant to your application that you would like the panel assessing your application to know about you. I just want to say a little bit about minimum requirements. And for most courses, as I've said already, there are no minimum requirements. So we don't say you have to have particular leaving cert subjects in particular grades or particular leaving cert points, but there are some exceptions. And I just wanted to mention medicine to you here. The minimum requirements for medicine are H3 and H4, or a grade B and a grade C at higher level, biology and physics or chemistry. So you need two subjects, biology and physics or chemistry, at those required grades to be deemed eligible to be considered for a place in medicine. Applicants are required, medicine only are required to submit a CV, and they must sit the HPAT Ireland admissions test, which takes place between Friday the 18th and Monday the 21st of February. So the equivalent piece there is really important. There is no moving away from those minimum requirements, but if you have undertaken a course previously and you feel, well, I did biology leaving cert, I never did physics or chemistry, but I did a course subsequently which covered physics or chemistry, you know, that may be deemed to be equivalent. So it's worth, you know, including that information in your application. Also, just there were a couple of questions pre-submitted about other specific requirements. All the requirements are outlined in our guidelines booklet 2020, available on the Mature Student website in the apply section. But other courses with minimum requirements will be courses like maths, computer science, engineering. Those courses require higher level maths or C and higher level maths or equivalent. And again, the equivalent is important to consider. We do take maths for STEM at further education as an equivalent, but again, you may have undertaken a course that you think was at that level. You're by all means contact us and we can let you know whether or not you meet that. But if there is a requirement in place, well, then you must meet that requirement to be considered. So you will have to submit supporting documents to the CAO, and there was a question about that. How do you do that? You post them to the CAO, making sure that you have your name and your CAO number and all of the documents. They will be uploaded and they will be accessible and available to us when we're assessing your application. So if you have in your application stated that you have a particular qualification, well then you must submit evidence of that to the CAO. Any documents requested by assessors to support your application. So on the previous slide, we were talking about medicine. You need a CV. So again, your CV must be sent to the CAO. If English is not your first language, you must provide evidence of English language competence. So your test results, they can be forwarded on to the CAO as well. Your statement of interest, particularly important. As I said, the space on the CAO form is not enough. You will need to use the Trinity template. And you will, if you use the Trinity template, there's space there for your name, your CAO number, your course, and send that, post that to the CAO. So again, all of your documentation, and the CAO do not take responsibility for additional supplementary supporting documents. It's up to you to get those in. They will not follow you for them. And don't send any originals. You know, certified photocopies are absolutely perfect. You will not get any of the documentation back. So just to say, all supporting documentation must arrive in the CAO 10 days after registering your application. So when you submit your application, then hopefully you're gathering up those required documents now, but you have 10 days to get those in to the CAO. So once the deadline passes and the 10 days have passed, we will have access to the CAO, and we will have access to your application. And it is not me who will be shortlisting and calling people for interview, but each school, each course will have a panel of people that they have nominated, usually 3 or 4 people who will take on the task of recruiting the mature students for next year. And what they will do is they will review your application on the CAO, they will read your statement of interest, and they will read your relevant supporting documents. And then based on that, they will shortlist and call people for interview. And I know there's a question about how that works, about calling people for interview. If you're being called for an interview, you will get an email from Trinity. So the process will shift from the CAO into Trinity, and Trinity will make a decision on shortlisting, calling you for interview. And as I said, most likely they will be online, and they take place between March and the end of May. As soon as those interviews are complete, a decision is made. So a decision could be made that, yes, you are to be offered a place. It could be that you're to put on a waiting list, which is a good outcome. It means that you're absolutely, eligible for the course and a good candidate for the course. There are just more applicants than places available. Or it could be that your application has been unsuccessful. You will be notified of your outcome by the end of May by Trinity, by email. So Trinity will contact you directly. And if you're offered a place and you decide to accept that place, you will get an early, a July offer from the CAO. So that is the time frame. Early July is the first round of offers. And mature applicants are included in that round. So watch out for that. So I just want to run through some of the supports available in Trinity for mature students. And my job as the Mature Student Officer is to promote the benefits and the opportunities available to prospective mature students, but it's also to help with the integration of mature students into college life and to provide support for our students. And if you do accept an offer with us in early July, by the end of July, you will be invited into a Getting Organised seminar that we run for students, incoming students, where we look at things like finance and grants and scholarships and funding, and we invite the disability service in to talk about the supports there, etc., etc. And we run then in September time an orientation program for mature students. And we had about 170 students attend our mature student orientation this past year. And it's a great way of meeting other students. Sometimes mature students are concerned that they might be the only mature student in their class. And if it's a small course, they may very well be. But it's a great way to network, meet people, and to get to know people before the start of term. We also have a personal tutor system, which is unique to Trinity. Every student is allocated a personal tutor, and the Senior Tutor's Office manages student funding as well. So the Student Assistance Fund. So there's funding opportunities there for students as well. We have a student mentoring program, S2S, and during orientation, we introduce students, they're mature students who have volunteered to be trained to be mentors, and they work with incoming students in that way. We've got a health service on campus. free consultations for students. We have a disability service that I mentioned already. We have a career service for those of you who are interested in undertaking a degree to enhance your job prospects. You can link in with them right away and avail of all sorts of unique and wonderful opportunities for internships and summer work, etc. We have a lot of academic support, and I think mature students are often worried about, the academics. If you're offered a place, well, then the academics have no doubt that you have, the ability to succeed on the course, but there is a lot of support there should you need it. We've got a maths help desk for students undertaking maths as part of their course. We have a writing resource centre, which is for mature students. It's a one-to-one support for essay writing. Students might just use that for the first or second essay, but I know some students would use it right all the way through their degree. So it's a wonderful resource and it's available to you as a mature student. We have a learning development unit, and they manage, they're involved in our orientation program, but they also manage a lot of training and a lot of courses for, developing your learning skills, timekeeping, study skills, etc., etc. We have a creche on campus with priority for students there. So it's worth linking in with them early once you receive your offer, if you're interested in that. We have a very vibrant students union, and we've got a mature student officer in the students union. We have a student parent officer, and we've got an access officer as well. So we're really well represented at the highest levels of college. And we've got wonderful clubs and societies. And if Tony is with us today, Tony is the current chair of the Mature Student Society, which is really vibrant and a really great support, peer support for students. So we've got hundreds of members, and it's just good fun. And I suppose what we like to do is, I know this is focusing on the application process, but we would encourage you wherever you go to university, and hopefully you'll be taking up a place there in September, that you engage in college life, because it is a wonderful opportunity, whether you have to work or, look after children of caring responsibilities. If you engage in college life and give it a little bit, it will enhance your experience of the university, which is, and it's quite a unique one. So we really do encourage you to get involved. And we have a sports centre as well on campus for students. So I wanted to touch on the foundation course for mature students, because I'm coming to the end of my presentation, but this is a wonderful opportunity. It may not be open to all of you, because there are eligibility criteria attached to the foundation course for mature students. It's usually for students who haven't had the opportunity to engage in education from school, but it's a wonderful course, and students who undertake this course are facilitated entry to the university. So while there are reserved places for mature students on all of our undergraduate degree programs, there are also reserved places for facilitated entry from the foundation course and our partnership courses in Pearse College in Crumlin and Plunkett College in Whitehall. So there are 25 places on each of those courses, and they're wonderful programs. For more information, I'd encourage you to email foundationcourse@tcd.ie. And just bear in mind, the deadline is the 28th of March. So you may very well apply as a mature student via the CAO, but you could also apply after that deadline for this particular program. So you can apply for both. So if you're eligible for this, I would encourage you to do so. It's an excellent opportunity. I also want to mention our QQI further education award opportunities, and a number of you are studying in further education at the moment. And just to say, further education, we believe really prepares mature students for entry to the university. Students who undertake further education really hit the ground running in terms of their coursework. But as a student in QQI FET at level 5 or 6, you may be eligible to apply for that route as well. So under that initial section where you're ticking that you're applying as a mature student, you may also tick that you would like to be considered for QQI FET entry. And there are a number of wonderful courses available there, and we've got new courses there for entry to dental technology, a 3-year degree this year. So we're expanding every year. So you are welcome to apply via that route as well, if you're eligible to do that. So I know I've talked a lot and about some quite detailed information. And if there are any questions on any of that information, I'd be delighted to take them at the end. I'll have a look at them now when I introduce you to our students, and hopefully we can open up and have a conversation at the end, time permitting. So I'd encourage you, if I haven't answered any of your questions, to please pop them into the Q&A box, and I will address those now. But I'm absolutely delighted to welcome one of our wonderful students, Maureen Penrose. And Maureen joined us when we were fully online. And despite that, and all the challenges of studying online remotely for one whole year, she came back full of the joys and is really a wonderful ambassador for the university. So I'm going to stop sharing here, and I'm going to allow Maureen to say a little bit about her experience in Trinity. Welcome, Maureen.
Thanks, Clodagh. Hello, everybody. Hiya. And as Clodagh was saying, any questions, just pop them in the Q&A box and I'll get to them. So I'm Maureen. I'm a pensioner. I'm retired after having had a full working life. And midway through life in my 40s, I took an interest in drama and theatre and decided I would really like to study that. So when I retired, I thought I'd love to go to Trinity. And who wouldn't? You know, it's just so beautiful. It's a beautiful place just to even walk through. So I applied through the CAO. Now I have to say, my first application, it went in, and then I went and I did interviews, and I did a bit of a performance piece, but I was on the wrong track. I hadn't filled in properly the mature student requirements, so I didn't get in that year, but I got in the following year. I didn't miss any forms the following year. So just, do yourself a favour and make sure you check them out with somebody, that you've done everything you need to do. Because it was a disappointment to wait a year. But now I'm in a class with 16 people, 15 of them are 19, 20, and there's me, 67. And I am living the dream. It's absolutely fantastic. Everybody is so nice and so kind to each other, not just to me. I'm not just getting by on my being elderly. Last year, it wasn't college as I dreamt of in some respect. It wasn't on campus all the time, but there was a lot of COVID-related Zoom classes and stuff like that. But in some respects, it helped me because I suppose with poorer hearing, I was able to see people's mouths move and stuff like that. And I thought when I started in Trinity, I thought I was kind of nervous, and I'm not a real nervous person, but I was kind of nervous. I was saying, how am I going to fit in here? Especially when I got into the room and I was the only mature student in the class. And I was like, oh my God, they're never going to relate to me. But, you know, they came in their different times and places and said, we're delighted to have you, Maureen. We're delighted to have your perspective on life and your experience of life in our class. I'm studying drama and theatre, so I suppose life experience is a quality or a qualification in that case, and in any subject. I haven't been in school since I did do my Leaving Cert back in the 70s, 1970, I think it was. And so it was a long time since I was in a classroom and studying anything. So I had to learn how to study again and how to concentrate again and stuff like that. And then the technical abilities weren't great. They were all right. I could use a computer, I could type, I could articulate an essay, but academia, then I had to learn a bit more, but there's so much support. We did in our first year the study skills module, so that was great. That was able to teach us, because the big fear is not citing people for their work, you know, quoting people and not giving their names, stealing their stuff, plagiarism. That's a big no-no. We don't want to be doing that. So we always have to name our sources, and we have to name them in a proper way. So that's to be learned, and that's okay, because you come here to learn. You come to Trinity to learn. The lecturers are really fantastic. They're so kind. They're so knowledgeable. I'm just like amazed at them. But I am learning. I'm learning loads. I'm learning how to do what do you call them? PowerPoint presentations. I'm learning how to do loads of stuff I never knew how to do. And I'm real proud of myself. I'm real proud of being in Trinity College. I'm real proud of the class I'm in. The students I'm working with are fantastic. I absolutely love them. And just life is good. Life is just so good.